Hello and welcome in to the Arizona Diamondbacks podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla. Of course, I am known around the city and on Apple TV as the mayor of the city of Phoenix. This man next to me is back. He is Mr. Electric, Shawn. And of course, as always, our stabilizing force at the back end of our rotation, the one and only Jesse Friedman. Jesse?
I'm a number 5 starter. Is that what you just called me?
Jesse,
the back end of the
stabilizing
starting
Friedman.
rotation.
Maybe the back end of the bullpen. Maybe you're our closer because today we're giving all the credit in the world to our man, Paul Sewald, and everything he has done over the course of this past weekend. Because, yes, things did look bleak. Things did look bad, including Friday's game where the Arizona Diamondbacks did lose with Ryan Nelson on the mound. But, of course, after our takeover event, things turned around. We did it, you guys. We did it because of us.
I think not.
There's no
right?
way that it's a coincidence.
It's definitely not a coincidence because the last time we were at a takeover, they also won.
Yeah.
And I believe that was the last time they had won at Chase Field.
There's a lot of electricity basically generated by our takeover events, but this one was by far our best one. I felt like not only was it a great weekend, it was a great day. We got these amazing throwback jerseys.
And the last one set the bar pretty high.
It really did.
It was a pretty electric.
It really did. But I mean, a big thank you to all of you that came out because you guys made it an absolute blast. I want to say this though. I have one pet peeve. I know this might be asking too much. I know this might be quite demanding, but if you come to our takeover event, you have to come say hi to us because there were far too many people who were there who we didn't even know were there because they were just politely and quietly minding their business in the seat that they purchased for this takeover event and not shouting at Dick Mountain with all of the euphemisms and every other chant that we came up with.
Screaming at me that we're back.
Yeah, not screaming back. Yeah, we were asking each other if we were back constantly during that game. And the Diamondbacks definitely are back with a series win over the San Diego Padres. I don't feel like I want to temper things just based on the fact that the Padres had not been playing very well coming into the series against the Diamondbacks. So at the very least, it's not this Padres team that we have feared all season long, and that was this team we thought they would be. However, they took care of business when they absolutely needed to because this was a must-win. You know, the Padres were even calling this series a must-win series for them as well. So it kind of makes sense when you look at the wild card standings, how closely the teams that are actually in it are grouped together and how the teams that aren't in it are kind of drifting back, and there's some distance growing between those two groups.
Yeah. I mean, this was a huge series win for the Arizona Diamondbacks. They so sorely needed this. And we talked about it after Friday's game. You know, I mean, that was a tough pitching matchup for the Diamondbacks. Like Ryan Nelson just got sent down by the Diamondbacks. We're going to talk about that a little bit more later. And he was facing Blake Snell, who is, you know, one of the guys in the mix for the NL Cy Young Award. So that was going to be a tough game for the Diamondbacks, even, you know, months ago when they were playing really well. That was just a game that's going to be really hard to win. They were able to take care of business on Saturday and Sunday when I guess Sunday's game, the pitching matchup was not necessarily in their favor. Brandon Pfaadt has obviously had his struggles, but Zac Gallen was able to come through in a huge way on Saturday with 6 scoreless innings. And, you know, when your offense is struggling, it helps when your pitching staff just doesn't allow any runs. The Diamondbacks only scored 3 in that game, but that was enough with how good Zac Gallen was in that game.
Zac Gallen was lights out. 6 innings, 4 hits, 0 runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. In 12 starts at Chase Field, Zac Gallen is now 10-1 with a 1.82 ERA, a 0.89 WHIP, and 92 strikeouts.
Any good?
That's pretty good. Pretty good. And I guess I have to ask, was this series win a surprise to you?
Was the series win a surprise to me? I think a series win was a surprise to me, yes. I think Saturday the win was not a surprise to me at all. I just thought there was far too much going in the D-backs' favor for them not to win that game. The matchup, the jersey, the takeover.
The night.
By the way, before I get too far away from the takeover, I want to shout out Tim and his wife and their adorable-ass baby. It was Tim's birthday. I don't think they were there for the takeover. They were just from Boise, right? They were from Boise.
Yeah, I think they said that they were there like because of the they heard about the takeover, but I think they didn't buy takeover tickets.
It was Tim's birthday. I know that, and so they flew in for
Happy birthday, Tim.
And they came up and
they barked at Damon.
They did bark at Damon.
They barked at Damon.
Tim was like, "You got to bark at Damon." And so
beautiful child.
They did.
We're all Damon's dogs, aren't we?
Their
at
kid
the end
was
of the
adorable. Their kid was cute as shit.
Yeah.
But shout out Tim.
Well, and it was I really enjoyed, you know. ending this losing streak with our diehards. And with our
it was.
PHNX family.
Honestly,
there was some things just so great about that.
Because it was a Saturday. Realistically, I probably would have been alone in my apartment watching this game otherwise. So it was awesome to experience that moment with the fans. But getting back to your original question, like, no, I didn't necessarily expect a series win.
Yeah,
I don't think there was any real reason to expect that based on the way that they had been playing over the last couple of weeks.
That's fair.
I thought it was possible. Like I said, I felt pretty confident that they were going to win on Saturday. And if you get one win, then you can get two. Like, I just think one thing just kind of has to fall your way. So I definitely always thought it was possible, but I did not expect it by any means.
That's what Paul Sewald said after the game. And I mean, there were a lot of jokes, including after that win, apparently in the hug line, the thing that he told Torrey was, "See, I told you we'd win another game," which is just hilarious because I think we all started feeling like that. And for it to become kind of a joke with them too, it makes sense. And I think that's why I like Sewald so much. I know Jesse's a big fan of Paul Sewald. Like, his attitude seems infectious. He seems like a calming force when it comes to this situation. And the man just got here. He's tried to say several times that he's not trying to like take over as any kind of, locker room leader or anything like that. But his presence is just calming. And the words that he says are very logical, and it's like having Jesse here. It very much is like when me and him are freaking out, we need Jesse here to be like, "Calm down, you guys. This is we still have 2 months of baseball to play." And that's
as flattered as I am by the Paul Sewald comparisons, I don't throw a 94 mile an hour.
That is correct.
So
you definitely can't.
Hit
Your slider sucks, and honestly, you don't get it high enough in the strike zone for me, for my liking. But he is just delightful, and when I say that, I mean Paul Sewald, not Jesse.
That's where the comparisons end, right there.
The fastball and the likability.
But the pitching was outstanding in this series for the Diamondbacks, or at least in the 2 wins
after
Friday. Ryan Nelson really, I mean, your heart goes out to Ryan Nelson. He was sent down to AAA Reno, and he really looked frustrated in that post-game press conference on Friday. So, hopefully he could go down and work on the stuff that can get him back here, because we've seen Ryan Nelson have a tremendous amount of success at a major league level, especially on the road. There's just some things, obviously, right now that including possibly tipping his pitches that he needs to work on. But Brandon Pfaadt looked like he was going to struggle in the game on Sunday. The first inning was not very good, but then after that, you could say Brandon Pfaadt was very, very good. He ended up going 5 2/3 innings, which he should have absolutely gone 6, and the home plate umpire stole that opportunity away from him unjustly without reason, giving up 9 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned. He walked 2, and he struck out a career-high 8. He hasn't allowed a home run in either of his last 2 starts, and things just seem to be trending in a very good direction for Brandon Pfaadt, even with that first inning that he kind of struggled to get out of.
The home run was the lack of home runs is huge.
Yeah, especially for this starting rotation. They need guys that aren't letting the big fly fly.
For him specifically, obviously, you go back to that game in Cincinnati. And now you're at a point where he's not giving up home runs.
Yeah.
Like that was a big thing for him. So it's if he can keep that up, that's definitely a welcome change, I guess.
Yeah, he really bounced back in a huge way yesterday. It really had the feel in that first inning, sort of a here we go again.
Yeah.
Are the Diamondbacks about to lose another game 12-3 or whatever and have a position player on the mound in the 9th inning? It was a huge win all the way around, not just for Brandon Pfaadt to bounce back in that game, but for the Diamondbacks offense to kind of claw their way back in that game as well. That's just something that we haven't really seen from this team in recent weeks. The ability to, like, when you get down somewhat big early, when the other team puts a crooked number on the board early in a game, to be able to, kind of gather yourself a little bit and still put together quality at bats. It's something the Diamondbacks just haven't done. It's felt at times like when the opponent gets up big early in a game, the offense just, the at-bats just aren't really there. The quality of the at-bats just isn't there. The patience isn't there. And we saw that yesterday. Lourdes Gurriel came in, hit a huge pinch hit 2-run home run in that game. There was a sac fly, I believe, by Alec Thomas that ultimately put the D-backs up in that game. It's something, I mean, I know we've been using the answer backs moniker for most of the season. We haven't used that much in the last month because the Diamondbacks seem to kind of lose that part of their identity. They showed a glimpse of that again yesterday.
A lot of Paul Sewald talking about it's time for Paul Sewald to pitch. LOL is very funny, but Paul Sewald has been incredible for this team. He comes in and he gets his first 2 saves over the course of this weekend, and I mean, I got tears in my eyes watching a closer come into the baseball game for the Arizona Diamondbacks and just do his job. Just do his job for 2 nights in a row. I mean, even when he gave up a hit, it still seemed kind of meaningless and didn't have that drama that we've had. I mean, we've had guys come in and shut down games as relievers. We've seen that. It's not like every game that a reliever came in and saved they blew this season, but you can't help but say, like, you could probably count on your 2 hands the times where it was drama-free there in like the 8th and the 9th inning. What the Diamondbacks are getting now out of not just Paul Sewald, but now Miguel Castro, who has been pitching very well lately, and Kevin Ginkel, who wasn't so great, but still Kevin Ginkel, I think, is still going to be a part of this. He's, like, these guys aren't going to be perfect all the time, but it really feels like there's some stability there at the back end of this bullpen for the first time this entire season.
Yeah, again, it's the presence of Paul Sewald. Like, that was one thing, and I know it was maybe a little skewed because we were at the middle of our diehards who are, I would argue, a little more baseball savvy than the average fan. But when Paul Sewald came into the game, you could feel the energy of like, okay, this is the guy who has a job to do and is going to come in and do the job, which is crazy because he hadn't done it in a Diamondbacks uniform at that point yet.
Right.
But it just was like, it felt different. And I have to imagine that resonates throughout the team, or at least throughout the pitching staff as well. It's just kind of like we were talking about with him in the locker room, just like his, even in game, like I think his presence changes the way everyone can approach the game. And it is, you saw it in those 2 games. He got the job done. And I think it was really important that he got it done considering how his first save opportunity went. Like, to have those 2 games back to back in that moment, in this moment of the season, and like all things considered, I think were very important. And so obviously very happy that he got it done.
They were really locked in, especially like what you're saying in that inning, like you could just see them having that little extra, bounce in their step and just doing everything the right way. But man, I mean, again, Jesse, when it comes down to his, his performance and his ability, like I feel like he has this ability to go out there and understand how to work the pitch count. And even if he's like letting it get to a full count, like he's working towards a goal, whereas our other relievers just seem like things were falling apart for them and they were just being wild. Like, it feels like Sewald has a game plan he's executing and he gets the job done. He knows who to pitch around, he knows who to pitch to, and he knows when to be aggressive in the strike zone and when not to be aggressive. And that's like, I feel like the difference that we've seen from some of the other guys that have been in this role.
Yeah, I asked Kristian Walker on Saturday after Sewald's first save as an Arizona Diamondback, and obviously his first save opportunity did not go particularly well in Minnesota.
Did not.
But Kristian Walker talked about how you can just tell, like you were saying before, he just has this presence about him and this comfort level with the 9th inning.
Yes.
And I think that's a huge difference from the other guys the Diamondbacks have put in that role this season, sort of because they had to. Like Andrew Chafin, he can pitch in the 9th inning. You can use him like that. But that's not necessarily, he hasn't really done that much in his career. That's not necessarily where he's most comfortable. Scott McGough has pitched a lot in the 9th inning, but that was in Japan. That's just different than doing it, in the majors at this level. You can tell that Sewald, he's been doing this for a couple years now. This is sort of what he prides himself in doing, and we're starting to see things turn around for him.
You're the one that wrote the article about the D-backs historic bullpen struggles, not just this year, not just in the last 5 years, but almost their entire time as a franchise. They've had a couple of names. Of course, those are the names people bring up, that one special season Fernando Rodney had and Papa Grande and stuff like that. But this feels different. And this feels like the Diamondbacks have a guy not only here for the rest of this season, but for next season that really can be that you don't have to even think about it. Like, if we get to Sewald, it's almost an automatic that the Diamondbacks can lock the game down.
Sure.
Obviously, nobody is perfect. No closer is going to be perfect.
No closer is perfect. And I think it's important to remember that. Like, when he came over in the trade, he was 21 for 24 in save opportunities.
Correct.
That's about 87, 88%, which is a really good number. Like, that's an elite number. But that doesn't necessarily mean there aren't going to be games like there were in Minnesota where it's like, all right, well, he just kind of didn't have it today. And, those games are still going to be tough to lose. But Yeah, Paul Sewald, in my mind, is just on a different level than anyone the Diamondbacks have had in this closer role for a long time. Even Fernando Rodney, I know, he was pretty much lights out from May on in that 2017 season, but the guy still had an ERA over 4 by the end of the year because in April he was an absolute disaster. He had an ERA over 12 in April that year. Paul Sewald is going to have his rough moments, but I think it's really an enormous change for the Diamondbacks in terms of, the types of guys they've had to put in those roles in the past.
Well, he was 2 for 2 in save opportunities in this series, and Paul Sewald is our king snake for this series against the San Diego Padres. Gave up 1 hit, no runs, and got those 2 saves, and that's just fairly incredible outing against a pretty potent offensive team, right? For Paul Sewald to come in there and shut both of those games down, that felt pretty exciting. When you talk about relievers, though, that have a high ERA due to their early season performance, one name that comes up is Luis Frias. Luis Frias is just somebody I wanted to give a shout out to because he currently has a 9-game, 9-inning scoreless streak. He has not allowed a run since being called up from Reno on July 15th. His last birthday, by the way. There you go. His last run allowed was on May 26th in the major leagues. And he's just been very good. 7 strikeouts, 3 walks, a 1.22 whip. And again, another name that there was some excitement about and then some disappointment in. And now, honestly, because he's doing his job so well, I feel like he almost kind of flies under the radar with his numbers lately because he just comes in and kind of quietly gets one of those middle innings, kind of shuts down and gets out of it. So hopefully he can keep that up because the Diamondbacks really at this point need to continue to find those guys. Paul Sewald, isn't going to be the only guy. Kevin Ginkel can't be the only guy. So Torey Lovullo needs to find those guys that he can count on at this point.
I feel like being a reliever is a very tough life because early on you develop some kind of reputation. Then kind of like you say, you pitch well and people don't notice you. And then you don't really shake the reputation that you might have built early on in the year. But
his ERA is still 4.60.
That's what I said.
Just the nature of being a reliever.
Because of how many runs he gave up early, and he hasn't had that many games, right? He hasn't had that many opportunities to lower that ERA. It's still very, very high. But, it's like Scott McGough, going back to McGough. McGough has had some bad performances. It's not to say he hasn't, but he's had more good performances than bad. The bad ones just stick out to you because they typically were the reason why the Diamondbacks lost a game that they were up. It does get frustrating with this relief, with this bullpen, with these relievers, that you can't really expect them to come in and just hold a game scoreless, which a lot of the good Major League Baseball teams right now can count on their bullpen to do that. The Diamondbacks have experienced that in some of these losses in their 9-game losing streak. But we're not talking about losing streaks anymore. We're talking about winning streaks because the Diamondbacks have won 2 in a row, and we are on the path to, of course, the World Series. That's the way that this works. We are back.
Can we talk about defensive specialist Buddy Kennedy?
We absolutely can talk about
defensive player of all time.
Yeah, maybe. Buddy Kennedy, Brooks third baseman. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand how we let that go by, but Buddy Kennedy was called up. We do have some roster moves that we'll get to in due time, Damon. If you just let me get through our rundown, sheesh.
I'm just hyped about Buddy, man.
I know. We're all hyped about Buddy. Well, we're all hyped about the changes the Diamondbacks have made because they definitely made some surprising moves that, of course, we'll talk about. But we did want to spy on our exes real fast. So if we can, let's spy on our exes, right? On, I believe it was Saturday, Dominic Canzone hit a game-tying home run for the Mariners in their extra innings affair with the Orioles, which was kind of fun. He hit that right after he clobbered it. He absolutely clobbered it.
Yeah, he kind of stood there and watched it for a while too.
He did.
Yeah, there was some emotion in that. Which, I mean, late game tying home run. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, he's got the dog in him, right? We know Canzone has the dog in him. His clutch factor on Baseball Savant is off the charts, but his hitting, aside from that, not very good. And neither is Josh Rojas. In fact, both players since being traded to the Mariners aren't faring fairly well. Canzone is slashing 192, 250, 385 with a 635 OPS. Rojas slashing 158, 200, 211 with a 411 OPS. And that's in 20 plate appearances with the Mariners.
But he had a cute moment with Ohtani, so it doesn't matter.
He did have a cute moment with Ohtani. Ryan Bliss is slashing 222, 308, 311 with a 619 OPS with Mariners AAA affiliates. So the point of this is that the Diamondbacks won the Paul Sewald trade. That's That's the only reason why we're talking about it.
I generally say it takes about 2 weeks to evaluate a trade in baseball. So today's about the 2 week.
We were doing
marker,
that after the Goldschmidt trade admitted. So here we are because that trade's officially dead almost. Dominic Fletcher.
I mean, like it is and it isn't because Dominic Fletcher's still there, and then Emmanuel Rivera is still in the organization, although he was just sent down.
Will the trade ever be dead? Will it ever be dead? We'll always talk about it, but
it will probably be a loss for the Arizona Diamondbacks, even if the D-backs turn one asset into another for many more years. I don't think anyone's ever going to look back fondly
40
on
years
that.
from now, we have the next Shohei Ohtani as a product of the trade, and it's like finally, it just took some time, but we won the trade.
We did it. It only took 72 years. In other roster news, per his Instagram and according to Steve Gilbert from MLB.com, Jordan Lawlar has been promoted to Triple-A Reno. Got off to a rough start this season, but actually has been hitting the hell out of the ball since June, the end of May?
Yeah. Since May 30th, Jordan Lawlar, his slash line at 310, 400, 554. Walk rate just over 10%, strikeout rate of 17.6%. Both of those are good numbers.
That strikeout rate is great.
Yeah. Obviously, it's still Amarillo. So
what is Ivan Melendez's strikeout rate?
I think it's at about 35.
Yeah.
It's about double Jordan Lawlar's. So there's an enormous
I
difference
didn't
there.
deserve that really, but I just feel like everyone
he's just standing on the corner minding his business.
He gets brought up, the chat like freaks out like he's gonna be the first baseman in the future, like for sure. And I just feel like they always leave out that detail. He didn't deserve that though. I'm sorry.
You feel better about yourself?
No.
Does it make you feel like a big man from belittling someone else?
I'm gonna go look at Ellie De La Cruz's strikeout numbers.
Meanwhile, Jesse, how's Lawlar's defense been this year? Better than what we've seen in the past?
It sounds. I mean, last year I think some people were a little concerned that he might not be a shortstop long term, and this year I still think I still think it's an area he can improve in, but those concerns seem to have waned quite a bit. I think generally people view Jordan Lawlar as the Diamondbacks shortstop of the future, which is big. I mean, obviously shortstop is one of the most valuable positions on the diamond. Correct. So him taking a step forward in that regard is very good news.
I know shortstop Ellie De La Cruz is a 34.6% strikeout rate. So
in the majors,
yeah.
Okay,
there you go.
That kind of helps put things in perspective, right? Melendez has a 35% in Double-A.
Yeah.
So Ellie is struggling a little bit,
and majors.
Yeah, that translates to 98% in the mid. No, it wouldn't be that bad, but yeah, he clearly still has some work to do. But I think as far as Melendez goes, there's still something to be said for the amount of damage that he's doing despite that. So I wouldn't say like, oh, he's a non-prospect or anything. Like, give him some time. This is his first full season in the minors, but yeah, you also want to tap the brakes if you're expecting Ivan Melendez to be Paul Goldschmidt in 2 years. Yeah. I'm not sure we're quite there with him just yet.
In other moves, the D-backs recalled Buddy Kennedy, which we're a big fan of, reinstated Gabriel Moreno, which we're even more of a fan of, and they selected right-handed pitcher Bryce Jarvis from Reno. Jarvis was a starting pitcher, one of the top 10 prospects in the Diamondback system, but he had been recently moved to the bullpen in Reno, which might have been a move to kind of align him a little bit more with what his role on the Diamondbacks might be. But yeah, he's been fairly good in, I'd say fairly good. He puts up good Reno numbers, which is still an ERA over 5, but 1.53 ERA, 23.4% K rate, 11.6% walk rate. So he hasn't been terrible, and I think that the Diamondbacks right now are kind of in that mode based on the moves they made of giving somebody else an opportunity when the guys that they have been giving opportunities to haven't really worked out. And it's not like they just gave guys a couple of games to try to impress or do something. I mean, some of the guys that they sent down, including Ryan Nelson, Emmanuel Rivera, and Carson Kelly, who they designated for assignment, all had a lot of opportunities at a major league level, but they're trying to do something to get this team out of their losing ways. And so far it's worked.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see what Bryce Jarvis looks like in the majors. As you said, the 5.48 ERA since being called up to Reno It's not fantastic, but it's pretty much league average relative to other starting pitchers at that level. So
it's below 7, which is good.
Yeah, it is below 7. Yeah,
Drake Jameson and Ryan Nelson both had like a 7+ ERA when they got called up
last year. I think Drake Jameson's did start with a 7. So the Diamondbacks are going to use him as a reliever. It does not sound like this had to do with like an innings limit. I don't think the Diamondbacks have any concerns there. It also doesn't necessarily have to do with his long-term future. From everything that I've heard, the Diamondbacks still view Bryce Jarvis as a potential starter moving forward. But basically what was explained to him is you can make a difference at the big league level sooner if you move to the bullpen right now. So the Diamondbacks are going to, just kind of see what this looks like. And yeah, kind of a similar situation to Slade Ciccone, where if you were to rely on a Jarvis or a Ciccone in a starting role, I think you might be a little concerned about what those results would look like. So this is a little bit more of a soft landing for him. And yeah, maybe, going into next season, he still could be viewed as a starter, and the Diamondbacks could continue to develop him that way.
We still don't have probable pitchers for this series coming up with
I think we have Merrill. I think they put Merrill back on the ledger for today.
Merrill was supposed to be today.
Yeah.
And then outside of this, we know we're probably going to get a Slade Ciccone start, which might look a little bit like a bullpen game. And then the other game might, in fact, be a bullpen game. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Diamondbacks bullpen can do with this much usage over this series against the Rockies.
I think we're getting Merrill tonight, and then it sounds like Tuesday is going to be the bullpen game, and then Wednesday, I think, is when you'll see Slade Ciccone start, but that hasn't been made official at this point.
And again, we don't know about how long Slade's going to be allowed to go or what his pitch count is going to be like, so that could still be a game where he makes it maybe 3 or 4 innings. And that's still a desirable result for the Diamondbacks.
Back-to-back bullpen games at Coors Field is kind of a scary proposition, but
that's terrifying.
We'll see. Just have to hope the Merrill goes 8 innings tonight and everything will be okay, right?
I mean, this is what happens when you play the San Francisco Giants too many times, Jesse. You start getting ideas from that Gabe Kapler, and now just bullpen starts to seem like the greatest thing ever for Torey Lovullo. But some difficult decisions the Diamondbacks did have to make. They sent down Ryan Nelson and Emmanuel Rivera again to Reno. They designated Carson Kelly for assignment. They also designated Kristian Robinson for assignment. And these are unfortunate. Carson Kelly, of course, has been a huge part of this team. I know a lot of people were frustrated with his play this year, and understandably so. I think Carson Kelly has had a pretty raw deal. This man, I think, has broken more bones for the Diamondbacks team than any player I've ever seen injured before. And I mean, there comes a point where that does take a toll on you. Your health and the ability to bounce back from those injuries isn't as quick. And I think really what we saw was Carson Kelly kind of in a, in a hole of getting back to playing at a major league level and never quite got there. It also was sad that we saw Carson Kelly have arguably some of his best games at the plate right before he got DFA'd. But what are your thoughts on parting ways with both Kristian Robinson and Carson Kelly? I know Kristian Robinson we talked about quite a bit, and we were hoping that this story would have a better outcome than this.
Yeah, I talked with Diamondbacks farm director Josh Barfield yesterday, and basically there were 2 primary things he brought up talking about Kristian Robinson. One was just that the Diamondbacks needed the roster spot. It is a little weird. It is a little difficult to give a 40-man roster spot to a guy who's down in high A. That's pretty far away from the majors, for a guy to have a 40-man roster spot. So the Diamondbacks just found themselves needing that, as you saw with all the moves that they made this weekend. And Josh also did mention to me that Kristian Robinson is going through some personal stuff. I don't know exactly the nature of that. He didn't really expand on it, but I don't get the sense that this was purely a baseball decision. I think there were some other factors. We just don't have specifics on exactly what those were.
I get it, though, because sometimes those personal issues off the field are something you need to be given time for. And
yeah, obviously Robinson has been through a lot the last few years.
Absolutely
that's well documented.
But he also had a fairly high strikeout rate. And like you said, the big thing was being in Hillsboro and taking up that 40-man roster spot. The Diamondbacks have had to make some difficult moves that we didn't think that they would make to improve this team. Going back to them DFA'ing Madison Bumgarner and now DFA'ing Carson Kelly. These are moves that you don't want to do as an organization, but there comes a point where you have to do what improves your franchise, what improves the team on the field. And right now, with Gabriel Moreno coming back, it felt like Carson Kelly, at least being sent down would be the move, but I imagine Carson Kelly doesn't have options left or anything like that.
Yeah,
so there is no sending down to AAA Reno right now at this point for Kelly. So we definitely wish all of those guys the best, because it does suck. And just like I was saying about Ryan Nelson, like it's tough. It's tough to see this these decisions made and these lives affected. Ryan Nelson still breaks my heart, looking back at that press conference from Friday and seeing the amount of frustration he was personally experiencing after that loss.
Yeah.
It's never easy. It's never easy, but hopefully the Diamondbacks have done what they needed to do, make those difficult decisions to improve this team, because like we said on Twitter, every game remaining is pretty much a playoff game for this team. That might be just a little drastic, but not really based on the schedule they have, who their opponents are going, ahead of them, and how important winning as many of these games are. The Diamondbacks need to win the majority of their remaining games in order for them to have a shot at the playoffs.
The other thing I'll say about Carson is I wasn't totally shocked by this move, just because I think Carson was a pretty legitimate non-tender candidate at the end of the season. I think it's very possible the Diamondbacks were just going to let him go anyway. And so, you have Jose Herrera already on the roster, right? So you've got a backup catcher that I think you feel okay about. And so, yeah, the Diamondbacks, by letting him go a month and a half early, they're kind of just getting ahead of this a little bit. I don't view this as being hugely shocking or anything. The timing is a little weird because Carson was kind of getting hot offensively. He's actually
I just said. Yeah,
he's actually had a pretty decent week. So so the timing is a little bit strange, but yeah, I didn't really expect the Diamondbacks to bring Carson back for next year. So just kind of making that decision a month and a half.
It was kind of just a product of Gabby being available again, right?
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, yeah, that absolutely is. But incoming, Carson Kelly remainder of the season where he bats 400 for some other team, probably, right?
Yeah, he's going to get picked up by, the Dodgers.
I knew you were going to say the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say the Dodgers, and I feel like I feel like you feel like you're too safe for me, Jesse. I feel like you don't think I'll leap over Shawn and fight you right now on this live show.
I'm not going to get in the way.
I know you won't. That's why I think he doesn't understand that part. But if you're here to witness a fight, you're in the right place. Welcome into the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our shows go live. Leave us a thumbs up just to let us know you like purple and teal. That's what we want a thumbs up for. If you're listening on the audio podcasting side, please subscribe to us there. Sign up or leave us a review. We always appreciate the feedback. And most importantly, sign up for a Diehards membership today. Excuse me. Diehards, by the way, best membership you can get.
Diehard membership. Best membership you can get. Cough, cough.
Cough, cough. Yeah, that's the alert. No, Diehard membership really does pay for itself right away. You get yourself a free piece of merchandise from PHNXLocker.com. If you were going to get yourself a shirt, if you were going to get yourself a hat, just sign up for a Diehard membership today. Not only will you get that free piece of merchandise, you will also get yourself a $50 gift certificate for Mountain Mike's Pizza. You will get a Dobson Ranch card. You will get so much stuff that it will pay for itself instantly. You also get Jesse's newsletter Full Count and the newsletter from all of our writers around here. You will also get access to our members-only Discord lounge where we have exclusive Discord content just for our diehards only and so much other stuff. So sign up today. You'll get members-only invites to events, members-only merchandise, so much incredible stuff. So don't miss out on all of this. Join us today. Most importantly, sign up right now for the BetMGM Sportsbook app because it makes watching sports better. And you don't even have to use your own money when you get on there because BetMGM will give you out free Friday bonus bets every Friday. All you have to do is log in at any point this weekend to claim your bonus bet on the house. And once you get that bonus bet, you can turn around, you can make a crazy 10-leg parlay and then miss it by one leg just like I did. And then if you miss it, guess what? You'll actually, they're consequence free because it's not even your money. It was just bonus bets given to you by the fine folks at BetMGM. And when I say that, I did make a 9-leg parlay that I missed by one leg. And what was that one leg? I took the under on the Diamondbacks Friday game where they scored like 15 runs, I believe.
15 runs in that game.
That's what I get for taking the under. It's like I hate fun. That's what Shane says. He tells me I hate fun. Yeah. But
what led you to take the under in that game?
What wanted me? Why did I want to take the under?
Yeah.
I don't know, because that was the first game of the series, and neither teams were playing very well offensively coming into it.
Okay.
So, and of course, I was a fool. And then I think the under hit on all the remaining games of the weekend, potentially. I don't know. Sunday's game had a lot of runs scored in it. But anyway, don't miss out on all this fun stuff over at the BetMGM app. If you sign up now, you use bonus code PHNX. There's a few different offers depending on where you live. But for our Arizona audience, place your first bet and you'll receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if it loses. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-522-4700 Nevada. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., Kansas, Nevada, New York, or Ontario.
Well, it is Monday, and of course, every day on this show is Earth Day. Every week on this show is Shark Week. But on Mondays are special. We go to the mailbag. Damon, let's go.
My mailbox, always something interesting in my mailbox. I try to get to everything in my mailbox, and then once in a while, there's a letter that makes me go, wow, wow, my mailbox.
I'm so sick of that guy's voice right now, let me tell you. By the way, shout out to my man, Mega Ran. Released his new children's album today, actually. So make sure to check out Buddy's Toy Box, because that is an incredible piece of music that is unique. Children's music usually is not the greatest thing for parents to listen to. So if you have a young one and you want to be able to tolerate that album that they ask you to play over and over again, check that out. But let's get to our first piece of mail. Damon, what do we got? Gabriel at Bold as Bronze on Twitter asks, are we back? Boys, are we? We're so back. We are absolutely back.
In our show prep today, we had an actual conversation that maybe we needed to address who the Diamondbacks are going to play in the 2023 World Series. Mm-hmm. I think it was actually a topic that maybe we should have had that.
It seems inevitable that it's going to be the Mariners, because they trade wins, so only one team can win at. They went on a 7-game win streak or whatever, while the D-backs were on their losing streak, and I think they've lost 2 straight as the Diamondbacks have won 2 straight since the trade, course, too. So it seems like they are on a collision course.
Yeah, like some sort of mirror opposites, bizarre
because then
world.
They get to the World Series, where obviously only one of them can win on any given night.
Yeah, but how would they both progress to the World Series? Like, in order to win that many playoff rounds, you have to play well. You can't have one team playing well and the other team playing opposite that, and they both get to the same
just
point.
Poked a lot of holes.
I mean, you just can't. They just can't play on the same. It works.
It works. All right.
Don't ask questions, Jesse. Shut up with your stupid logic.
You go to Disneyland and start asking questions about how this shit works.
Come on.
Believe in the magic.
Yeah, just magic.
I would 100% go to Disneyland and start asking.
Yeah, you really would. You would ruin the day. You would ruin the day. What else we got, Damon? We are back. That's answering that question. We are back. Brian Bobbitt asks at BB_Nitro on Twitter, is there any concern with catching depth with Kelly being DFA'd? Not like he was any good, but looking at what's behind Gabby and Jose, didn't look any better if any of them go down. That is an absolutely outstanding point. Yeah, I mean, the depth is the big concern here. But, of course, the problem there being that they didn't really want to keep Carson Kelly around just so that they could keep all 3. I feel like Jose Herrera has been playing much better than Carson Kelly, and I felt like that they wanted to go with Gabby and Jose Herrera. But it's a valid question, because if one of those guys go down, what do they do for a backup?
Yeah, in Reno right now, the Diamondbacks have 2 catchers on the roster. One is Ollie Sanchez. He's hitting 317, 377, 484. Obviously, it's Reno, so that's maybe around league average production. He has played a few games in the majors. I believe he was on the Cardinals for a few days, also on the Mets. He has 14 major league plate appearances under his belt. So he's seen a little bit of time in the majors.
He's ready to go.
He's ready to go. The other catcher the Diamondbacks have in Reno is Adrian Del Castillo, who was promoted there just a few weeks ago. And I've heard pretty good reports about him. Not a super highly touted Diamondbacks prospect, but you've probably seen him show up on some top 30 lists. He had a bit of a rough start upon his arrival to Reno, but now he's up to 244, 382, 400. Kind of a bat first guy, but I think his catching has really taken a big step forward this year from what I've heard. The other factor you have to consider is, frankly, the Diamondbacks have not set a very high bar for their backup catcher role. Neither Carson Kelly nor Jose Herrera have really been all that great this season in any facet of the game.
Right.
They're basically replacement level catchers, and the definition of a replacement level catcher is you can replace them with like a guy. You could have a guy come up from AAA, and there's probably not a huge drop off in production there. So it is a valid point for sure, but not something I'd be overly concerned about.
All right, what else we got, Damon? Next question comes from Michael. Michael Rickey asks, who gets their first major league win first? Brandon Pfaadt, Slade Cecconi, or Bryce Jarvis?
I don't know. Shawn, what do you think?
I mean, I'll give it to Slade because he's got the next opportunity.
Is that how we're doing things? I mean, I really feel like it's going to be Brandon Pfaadt, but I mean, yeah, Slade's up next, so I'll say Slade. I agree with that because I think they're going to win that game with Slade. I think they're going to sweep the Rockies. That's what I think because we're back,
Slade,
and of course that's the logical result. Is that they're going to
against a really bad team? I feel like it's a pretty good odds there.
I mean, yeah, and I think again, the one thing is, can the Diamondbacks generate enough offense early on in order for them, to give him the win? Brandon Pfaadt pitched a pretty damn good game, and you could argue he deserved it, but they just weren't able to get out ahead when he was still in there.
That's why it's crazy on the BetMGM Sportsbook app today. The Diamondbacks are 2.5 run favorites. They're expecting the Diamondbacks to win by 3 runs or more.
Wow.
Yeah. Against the Rockies?
And that's not typically very common because kind of like the puck line in hockey, it's almost 1.5 always.
Which is why on PHNX Bets Daily earlier, I did take the Rockies plus 2.5 because that's crazy line.
Scumbag.
No, I think the Diamondbacks are going to win. But
I get where he's coming from on this.
They think I'm going to win by 3 runs. What in the last 3 weeks has suggested that they're going to win a game by 3 runs?
I mean, yeah, they won Saturday's game by 3 runs. Outside of that, the Diamondbacks hadn't won a game by 3 runs in a very long time.
And last time I checked, we are not going to Colorado, right? So we're not doing a takeover event in Colorado for this game. So I mean, if we're not going to be there
in Colorado,
there's going to be a zillion runs scored.
I will say that I think Bryce Jarvis will probably pitch sooner than either Cecconi or Pfaadt because he's a reliever, and he'll probably be part of the bullpen game on Tuesday.
So I guess it's kind of a crapshoot as to who gets the win in that one.
Yeah, really exactly. Just because he's going to pitch in that game, the chances of there's whether the Diamondbacks will win the game or not, and then there's like which out of all of the relievers is going to get the win. The odds aren't necessarily in his favor.
All right, what else we got, Damon? Aaron R. Hughes on Twitter asks, order the bullpen by how much you trust them right now. What bullpen pieces would you want to see acquired in the offseason?
I mean,
I feel like, yes, I want to see the Diamondbacks add to the bullpen during the offseason. I don't feel like that necessity is as strong now with Paul Sewald being acquired. I do think that the Diamondbacks have some very talented pitchers in place. And I think that if guys can start to know what their role in the bullpen is and expect that role, know what their job is, know what they're going to pitch, what they're going to be expected to do, I think things are going to be different than the way that Lawlar was running this bullpen in this entire closer by committee situation. But I could be wrong. But when it comes to ordering them and who I trust right now, Paul Sewald
first,
way up here, and then like maybe down here, kind of everybody else. I will say
Ginkle's probably a little bit higher than the rest of the
I mean, it really depends. Are we talking like right this second? Because it feels like it changes every 2 weeks.
It does.
Because like, if we're talking right this second,
sometimes up here right now.
Scott McGuff's at the bottom. I'm putting Castro and Frias near the top right now. But obviously, if you put Frias anywhere near the top a couple months ago, you look like a crazy person.
Yeah.
So
right, like I would say Sewald, Ginkle right now, probably. Miguel Castro and then Frias. I put those two kind of close together.
To me, it's almost like a 2 groups kind of thing. Like if I see they're coming into the game, do I feel good or do I not? And at this point, I would say, it's Sewald, Castro, Ginkle, Frias right now, I guess.
Kyle Nelson doesn't get in there.
I guess.
I have not felt very good about Kyle Nelson lately.
He hasn't. I mean, he kind of blew up the other day against the Dodgers.
Yeah, and I just feel like he is still kind of that where you really don't know what you're going to get on a
He's been really good. He's been really good, like in the 6th or 7th inning. But in the 8th and 9th inning, Kyle Nelson has not been good.
Use these guys in their strength and those. And I mean, of course, it's never going to go perfect for any of these guys. They're going to have their times where they're bad in that inning of work that they're expected to work. But at the same time, I feel like there needs to be some consistency if you expect consistency in return, right? If you expect them to be able to go out there and do their job all effectively and confidently, the way we talk about Sewald doing it, then these guys have to know what their role is. And I think that the entire bullpen by or the closer by committee thing was kind of a disaster. It allowed guys not only to know what their role was in regards to being that closer, but it also didn't allow them to know what their role is going to be the next time that this situation comes around or whatever. I just think there was a lot of inconsistency there. But yeah, I mean, right now I think Scott McGough and Kyle Nelson probably are at the bottom of it for me as far as just trusting that they can come in and do exactly that. I feel like
really has struggled lately.
He really has, but I feel like we're seeing that out of Castro and Luis Frias more regularly, and I really am digging them out there on the mound. Any other? You didn't really give
Joe
too much on yours, Jesse.
Yeah, Joe Mantiply I think probably fits in there somewhere.
In the middle, you'd say? Or?
Yeah, somewhere in the.
He's kind of like Kyle Nelson, where I feel like I don't really know what I'm going to get.
Yeah. I mean, Mantiply was like lights out for this team last season, at least in the first half. And then we talked about how after the All-Star break, he really struggled to be that again. I mean, even before the All-Star break, like it's like once he was nominated or named an All-Star, it felt like things kind of fell apart for him a bit. But.
I think just this whole season, the moment that you've gotten to a place where you really trust a certain reliever, that's when they rattle off a 12
because we were talking about McGough being our
you know?
closer, and then all of a sudden he disappears, and it's like, okay, maybe Ginkel can do that, and then he struggles a little bit, and then
that's like just kind of the reality of a team that just hasn't really figured out how to build a bullpen, frankly. And obviously their resources that they've been working with are pretty limited, which certainly doesn't help the situation. But yeah, to me, it's sort of like it's Paul Sewald. I do think Kevin Ginkel is a genuinely very good relief pitcher. Outside of those guys, I don't know if you really believe in like the staying power of anyone else. Like they're going to go through their good times and their bad times, but when push comes to shove, is Miguel Castro like a real 7th, 8th inning setup man type? I don't know. I don't know if Luis Frias is that either. Like,
my energy about that would feel very different if we were talking about the postseason.
Yeah.
Like if this is game 6 or something like that, and Luis Frias is coming into the game, I'm going to be sick to my stomach.
Yeah, I don't know.
Very differently.
That's a good way to think about it, because you really realize what you have in your bullpen when it comes to the postseason.
Yeah.
And when push comes to shove, and you have to be like, all right, like we're holding down a 1-run lead,
who do we trust?
You know, in a do or die game, and Luis Frias is going out there. Yeah, you might feel a little bit differently about
like, especially because the World Series or the postseason is crazy. I think a few years ago, back to the Red Sox playing, I think it was in the World Series, when they had they played a game that was like 16 innings or something like that, and Evaldi pitched like 7 innings of relief, and it's like, if that happens, and then you get to a situation where like, oh, you have to pitch Luis Frias. He is the only guy that you can kind of pitch. Are you going to feel good about that?
See, what's wild,
I don't know.
What's wild is I feel like at times when we see Torey do these little experiments during the regular season, and we're all screaming like at him about, do you really want to win a baseball game? Why are you leaving this guy out there after he's loaded the bases with walks? It feels like obviously you need to go take him out and get him out of there. And in a way, like Torey is trying to prepare these guys for these big pressure, high pressure situations, because regular season games have such a smaller impact than like the postseason, right? So when you talk about like a Luis Frias, how can you get him those high leverage situations if you don't, or at least like work his way through those, unless you let him kind of go out there and fail and have those moments.
But
right?
The other side of that is we're getting guys ready for the postseason. There is no like, you can get the next guy.
Oh, I don't think that time has come and gone. Like the time period for doing that has come and gone. But early on in the season, especially as we get closer to the playoffs, there's going to be a lot of questions about those games that they lost and why Torey was doing that. And it is a tough balance to try to give guys that time of gaining experience and getting better and being somebody that's kind of like forged by the fire, and losing those games because you just wanted to give some reliever a learning experience or whatever. Like that's the feeling. That's what makes a lot of people like question Torey Lovullo and kind of get mad at him for his decisions because he has other things that he's trying to do besides necessarily just win that ball game. And all we want him to focus on is winning that ball game.
I mean,
just win that game.
My biggest concern is, and I'm going to take the opportunity to shit talk Aaron Boone if it comes up.
Please do.
Like, it's my problem is always just like, there's so many moments in the postseason with Aaron Boone where it feels like everybody in the world is screaming at their TVs to take this guy out, and he doesn't, and then it goes poorly. And I feel like that's a similar criticism that a lot of fans have had of Torey, is that there's times where he just lets guys stay in too long because he believes in his guys. And that cannot happen in the postseason. So that's always been my concern with him and I guess the bullpen. But
I think for me, watching other managers manage the game, the same one the Diamondbacks are playing, makes me be like, hey, why isn't Torey doing that? Like, Torey, wait, that guy let his reliever just face 3 guys and then he went and pulled them because he wasn't doing well. Like, what is that?
I mean, it happened in the Dodgers series when they, I forget who it was, but they left somebody in the game. Or no, it was when he left Peralta in the game, despite it not being a matchup. And earlier in that game, Torey had pulled Ginkel, I think, after Ginkel was dealing because of the matchup, and everyone was like, see, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that kind of is I mean, we saw it in the World Series with the Rays. Like, there's you can't always just follow the numbers. Sometimes you gotta have some faith in your guys. Maybe Blake Snell's still a Tampa Bay Ray if that happens.
I don't know. I don't know if the Rays should have faith in their guys after what came out this weekend, but that's a whole other thing. That is a whole other thing for a different show. We're going to move on quickly. Damon, what else we got? This is the big question of the weekend. Daniel Caston asks, do we ditch the Sedona red and go back to purple and teal? He votes yes. We all vote yes, Daniel. Yes. That is wholeheartedly the only answer.
Super chat earlier.
We got Ryuji Sakamoto asked in the super chat, did you guys see Zac Gallen's poll? Thoughts? We absolutely saw Zac Gallen's poll. Here was Zac Gallen's poll. Zac Gallen wants to know. He just said, just curious. No, you're not, Zach. You know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly what you're doing.
Following up, what was it, yesterday or 2 days ago, where it was like, bring him back full time?
No, it was, first it was that one because it was like throwback Zach from the team account, and he quote tweeted that with bring back the purple and teal full time. And then he went to a poll. You didn't need to poll. You knew the answer to this. We all knew the answer to this.
People who accidentally clicked the wrong thing.
14,000 plus.
9% commies.
91% in favor. 9% that pushed the wrong button by accident, because that's what we're claiming. This has a 10% margin of error, basically, is what we're saying, and that margin of error is anybody that voted the other way. But yes, purple and teal. It was beautiful. The nostalgia this weekend, the way people reacted to that video being back with the snake and the ball and everything, Jesse, it was great. But more than anything, it just looked beautiful. The batting helmets were beautiful. The jerseys hanging in the locker were beautiful.
It was beautiful.
It just frustrates me to no end that this team took, such an identity, such an iconic identity that was, connected to the only world championship the city has ever had, and just rebranded it the same way Elon Musk tossed the little blue Twitter bird in the trash and just went with X. Like, it feels like the same thing to me.
We do have a comment in the chat from someone who says, man, I will always sport the red and black over the purple.
You're incorrect.
They do exist.
Can we ban that person from the chat? No,
I'd argue you're a bad guy.
I would argue.
Okay, while we're on this topic,
wow.
We haven't discussed this.
I don't mean that.
We haven't discussed this publicly before. Speaking of bad people, Jacob is anti road grays, just like wholeheartedly doesn't like road grays.
What?
I don't love road grays.
The concept of it.
Oh,
that's one of the worst takes I've ever heard.
I love road grays. Yeah,
that's not slander. That's something you said.
You said that. You claimed that.
Slander. Slander implies falsity.
This is accountability, Jacob. That's what this is. This is letting everybody know what you said.
You said it.
Yeah. Road grays are the best.
Road grays. That's just a bad take.
For the record, I don't have a very strong opinion, but I would not say that road grays are the best.
That's a bad
take. They're fine.
It's baseball.
They're kind of at the bottom of the totem pole for me in terms of like uniforms that teams generally wear. But
it doesn't matter, because
it's not about them being good uniforms. It's about being the fact that when you're at home you wear white, when you're on the road you wear gray.
Yeah, you're drab, you're boring. We don't want you showing out in our ballpark. Take your City Connect jerseys and you wear them at your house, not ours. Is that fair enough? I want you looking gross when you're visiting. Just like Kristian Walker wanted to acknowledge all the fans' support and how much he loved everything on Saturday night, and people somehow turned that around into like, oh, you blaming the losses on us? At no point did Kristian Walker say he was blaming the losses on you guys. It's just hard. This franchise is one of the few franchises in baseball that have to deal with this thing of the opposing fans taking over their stadium all the time. Like other teams that are just bad, just nobody shows up. That's the way it works there. They don't have all of the opposing fans show up and fill up the stadium. It's this transplant city, and the fact that the Diamondbacks have only been around for, the 24, 25 years, like that's the reason why they have to deal with this that other franchises frankly don't. I mean, and don't get me wrong, like opposing fans showing up is something that every team in this state has to deal with. It's not uniquely the Diamondbacks only issue, but I mean, Kristian Walker, Torey Lovullo, he commented on how great it was to win the seventh inning chant, the stretch where the root for the D-backs, where that never gets heard. Like that's a wild take, because that just shows that Torey is paying attention and he hears you every night. Yeah, he hears every night the D-back kind of get overshadowed by the opposing team.
If you were there Saturday, you can't deny that was just a different energy.
Oh, it absolutely was.
Diamondbacks home game. Like it was a different experience for everybody that was there. And if you're gonna get hurt over the fact that someone acknowledges that, then you're a loser.
Yeah.
And I feel like the issue is less pronounced with the Padres.
That's also true.
Like the Dodgers, it's a different story. When the Padres come
Cubs,
to town, there are
Dodgers,
Padres fans. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
Earlier in the season, though, when I went to a Padres series, there was like a 50-50 split of Padres.
Yeah, but Padres fans have only been Padres fans for like 5 years. So as soon as they start seeing that their team is not that good, they're like, okay.
I was going to say 2, but 5?
Yeah, that's I don't know about 5.
5 is
they
pretty
were not very good.
You're giving them some history there.
Fair enough. Ever since they turned back to, we were talking about this, ever since they turned back to the brown and yellow, hint, their franchise turned around. I wonder, that's crazy. Went back to your old colors and your franchise figured it out.
He's not wrong.
What happened there?
He's not wrong. They did also play in a World Series in those other colors, but that's a whole other thing. They got slaughtered by the Yankees. And I know you don't want to talk about that. So what we'll talk about, Diamondbacks are on the road. Diamondbacks are in Colorado. And then this weekend they will be back in San Diego, or in San Diego playing Padres again. Jesse will be out there. And of course, on his way out to San Diego, Jesse's going to be stopping at Circle K, where you all should be stopping for the best coffee, beer, and snack selection. And most importantly, premium gas and premium gas entertainment, right? Well, you might get Saul, and then that's just kind of a disappointing kind of one. Like you expect to get Shawn, you expect to get me, maybe you expect to get Leah, but then you get Shawn, you get Saul, or Lindsay.
Everyone's disappointed when they get Lindsay.
That's the worst. But no matter who you get, make sure to get down on the Polar Pops. They stay cold longer, and of course, don't sleep on the Circle K branded snacks. Right now, you can get Powerades 4 for $5. And you also get entered to be one of 10 finalists to win a 2023 Ford Big Ben Bronco SUV. Of course, as we've discussed on this show, it's a tiered event where then you have to go into a semifinal round against Damon to fight him for the truck. Then the finals involve you fighting Shawn. But good luck to you all on that. Make sure to also not miss out on the buy 2 get 1 free Monster Energy drinks and the buy 2 get 1 free Beatbox hard teas. Make sure you're not missing out on all this great stuff. Text PHNX to 31310 to join their SMS subscriber club and get a buy 1 get 1 free offer on 32-ounce Polar Pops. Head to circlek.com/store-locator to find Circle K's near you. And of course, also shout out to our friends at Four Peaks, which you can grab at Circle K or anywhere you grab your beer, for us meeting up at their Four Peaks draft room for our takeover event. It was fun. I didn't even know that they had a pool table in the back of that room, which we were all hanging out around, and both Damon and Shawn showed off how bad they were at pool.
I showed off slightly that I was slightly better than.
Yes, you did. You did, but you both were very
missed
bad.
The ball completely.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Damon missed the ball completely.
I'd argue that I was closer to making the shot.
That's not true.
I would argue that.
That's not true. You missed the ball completely.
It was a tough angle.
I would argue that you both
hit the ball, and mine almost came back. Mine almost bounced around the table and wins.
That's luck. Mine was a millimeter away from going
in.
A millimeter away.
You didn't touch the ball. Yours is a foul.
So they could have moved the white ball wherever they wanted to.
Mine's not.
The other ball they were shooting at was it was right on the edge of the hole. You just had to breathe on it to make it go in the hole. And neither of these two could make it.
At least I made contact.
Can we clarify? Did Damon miss the cue ball?
No, he hit the cue ball, but the cue ball didn't hit another ball.
It didn't hit anything. It just bounced around the table
Mine hit the intended target.
Yeah. You're both terrible. But I will tell you, if you're good at pool, go to the Four Peaks draft room and play their pool table.
I'll cook you with shuffle.
Fun. There's other games he's very good at. I will stand up for him with that. But pool is definitely not one of them. The Four Peaks draft room located on the suite level. Make sure to check that out at Chase Field. Not only can you eat and drink there, but you can hang out and watch the game from there, especially if your seats are bad. So maybe do that. Maybe have yourself a good time over there. Follow all of their events at fourpeaks.com/events. And you can stay up to date everything Four Peaks on social media at Four Peaks Brew or at Four Peaks Pub. Must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks, and please drink responsibly. Damon, we got some more Mailbag Monday questions. Let's get to those. Brett Lee Johnson asks, what are the chances, percentage-wise, we see Lawlar on the MLB roster by the end of the year, either taking Old Man Nick's spot or being part, I'm guessing, of the expanded roster call-ups? I don't know. I feel like if he had a little bit more time in Reno, that might be a bit more of a possibility. I just don't see there being enough time for him to kind of make an impression at a AAA level and still get called up. But they did it with Corbin Carroll. And maybe what they're trying to do is get that draft pick back 2 years in a row by having the Rookie of the Year. Maybe Jordan Lawlar's next year's Rookie of the Year. So maybe it's a masterminded plan, but I don't think that it's very likely.
Yeah, the Diamondbacks they promoted Corbin Carroll from AA to AAA on July 9th of last year. And then they brought him to the majors on August 29th. So they still had him in Reno for close to 2 months, a little over a month and a half. If they wanted to give Jordan Lawlar the same amount of time in Reno, they would run out of time this season. Basically, that would run into the end of the season. So I don't expect it. I would maybe say there's a 10% chance something like that happens. Some teams do just call up guys straight up from AA. So it's not like in baseball, like, you know, a quick run through AAA or no run through AAA at all is completely unheard of. But from what we know about this front office, it's something I'd be pretty surprised to see.
Yep. All right. What else we got, Eamon? Mike Hill asks, would you bring Dom Fletcher up and send Jake or Alec down? I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, especially considering at times both of their struggles at the plate. I think, you know, the one thing about Dominic Fletcher is those numbers always look pretty sexy in AAA. Like, it's hard to take a look at what some of those guys are doing offensively. It's like you mentioning a backup catcher and just being like, casually he hits over 310. You know, it's like, yeah, but that's Reno. So you kind of just like a pitcher's ERA being at 5 is okay to good. It's hard to adjust sometimes that offensive difference between playing in the minor leagues and playing in Reno versus playing at a major league level.
Yeah, I do think you'll see Dominic Fletcher again before the end of the year, but I don't know if you're ready to send down Jake McCarthy or Alec Thomas at this point. You've already sent those guys down. They've come back up. Have they been fantastic? No.
They've been better, though, than they were when they get sent down.
Yeah, I think the optics of that would be a little weird. I do think you'll see Dominic Fletcher in the majors again at some point, though. He clearly is deserving of that opportunity. And you're only a couple weeks out from getting 2 more roster spots when rosters expand in September. So that would sort of be my guess, is you'll see Dominic Fletcher again, but it might be with one of those extra roster spots rather than sending down Jake or Alec.
Even when he's struggling, Alec Thomas has still had some big hits. He had a big pinch hit triple.
Yeah.
He had a sacrifice fly RBI yesterday's game. Like, there's been clutch moments that even though he's not, you know, his numbers don't look great and he's still doing some of the bad, like he's still softly grounding out to the right side a considerable amount. It feels like he's his defense and some of his big hits have been really key for this team, especially the last couple of days.
Yeah, the defense is a really big thing too. Like,
he just makes it look effortless.
He's the best center fielder in the organization, I think, outside of maybe Drew Jones, I guess, but he's obviously a long ways away. So yeah, I think you want Alec Thomas in the majors. I'd be pretty surprised if the D-backs made that move.
All right, what else we got, Damon? Jacob Giacomo asks, he's obviously been crushing the ball, but how has Melendez been defensively at third base after they moved him from first? Well, we know we're not letting Shawn answer this one, of course. So.
Yeah, Shawn just wants to talk about his strikeout rate.
Yeah, that was just an offensive
thing. No, but how has his defense been? Has he been getting any better? I know kind of, you know, of course, like Melendez is one of those guys that seems destined to be a DH, it feels like.
That's
because
exactly.
He just mashes the ball
before the show.
Yeah, he just seems destined for that. But I mean, you know, again, how like is he going to be one of those players that you think is ever viable in the field at a major league level?
I think he could be a decent first baseman. But yeah, the D-backs have tried him at third base early in his professional career, and I've heard kind of mixed things. I don't think his arm accuracy is fantastic. I don't think his range is fantastic. He would be a below average third baseman in the majors, probably well below average.
It's such a hard position to play.
Yeah.
And like it gets considered to just be like first base on the other side of the diamond, but it's so not that. You know, based on your reaction time and like you said, the range you need to have.
And also the expectations of what you need to do there.
Yes. Yeah. But like, okay, like when we were watching, you know, you're playing the Padres and you're watching them like laser pinpoint accuracy, like
the left side of that
infield is just absurd. Crazy, right? So it's like, I mean, you see that and you kind of understand when we talk about arm strength and things where, you know, there was a point where the Diamondbacks seemed to have a problem turning double plays there for a stretch during July where they were really struggling. And like a lot of it was there was no speed on the ball getting around, even though it seemed like a standard ground ball that you should be able to turn to fairly easily. It felt like there was no power in those throws or anything. You know, you watch those Padres players and they were pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's maybe worth trying. I mean, like Melendez would have a lot more value as a player if he could play third base. So that's why the Diamondbacks are doing this. But yeah, at the end of the day, is it actually going to pan out for him in the majors? I mean, you could play him there, but I think it would take a pretty big shot at his overall value as a player. So first base, though, I think is realistic.
And it doesn't feel like they have somebody at third base that's coming up, and it feels like that's what they're trying to find, right? Is somebody that can be the future over there.
That is a great point. Yeah.
All right. What else we got, Damon? Last question comes from Ryan Simmons. And of course, Ryan wants to know, where will you be watching the Diamondbacks 2023 World Series victory parade from? We will be on a PHNX float in the parade. That's where we will be.
Oh, I thought we were on Lourdes's float.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're saying that would make more sense. We're not a partner, so we wouldn't have. Yeah.
That's true. We probably are like the first because we've got the mayor. So
yeah, right. That's what I was saying. Like, I mean, some
true.
sort of classic car where I'm sitting in the back with my sash waving, but Lourdes could be next to me.
Or you're at the end like Santa and the Thanksgiving.
Oh, I would love to be at the end like Santa. That would be so good. I want like to wear, because Lourdes and I both have the toucan jacket from his 2022 family Christmas photo. So I think we should both be wearing those, even though it's going to be quite hot because it's going to be like, middle October. It's still going to be pushing 100 around these parts, I'm sure. I don't care.
It was apparently extremely warm in 2001 when they had the World Series parade. I've heard stories that it was like 100 degrees.
It was a nightmare that day.
But theoretically, it would happen around November 1st, which theoretically in Arizona, November 1st, it's pretty nice.
Speaking of which, Paul Sewald, once again, he age discriminated against me because he said he was 11 years old when the Diamondbacks won the World Series. And I don't like that. I mean, I don't want our players to be as old as me. But again, hearing a man who, like, as I'm standing there next to him, seems older than me.
He seems like the old guy
older than me, and he said he was 11. So I'm not going to forget that anytime soon. But Moshe Bear says, D-backs World Series parade. What kind of weed are you all smoking?
Did the Dodgers even have a World Series parade, or was that canceled because of COVID?
I don't know, because I think Mickey Mouse has the trophy, right? Is that why they call it a Mickey Mouse championship?
Yeah, the rings were big because they had to fit over those big ass gloves.
The big white gloves. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Also, it almost makes as much sense as your franchise winning one championship in like 12 years of spending the amount of money you have.
But in a season as much money as the Diamondbacks have made since their inception, and they have as many World Series.
David Baptiste asked, "Are we resigning Lourdes Gurriel Jr. in the chat?" That's probably a topic for another day, but I'm leaning towards no, most likely. And here's why. I'm just going to give you the quick gist of it. I think the Diamondbacks have enough outfielders to make Lourdes obviously expendable. And I think Lourdes honestly needs to use his all-star game status to get the biggest contract that he possibly can. Yeah. And I don't think the Diamondbacks are the ones that are going to give that to him.
Go back to Toronto.
Interesting.
That's what I think. But also, I am a man that dyed my hair like his, and then also I'm still mad that I shaved it all off in order to try to help this team win. So
you dyed your hair purple, and you really are just dismissing Lourdes returning to the Diamondbacks that easily,
dude.
And
like, this man was your identity.
Am I supposed to be? Am I supposed to be logical here, Jesse, or am I supposed to be emotional? You pick, because you're the one always trying to calm me down. I'm trying to be logical here. Anyway. we thank you guys, of course, for being here right now in the chat. And as always, for being here. Make sure you check out our friends over at Burrito Express. If you are hungry, whether it's breakfast, whether it's lunch, no matter what time of the day it is, burritos are quite arguably the perfect meal. I don't know where else you can get such a fantastic combination of ingredients wrapped up in such a travel size package. But make sure to check out the homies at Burrito Express. They have multiple Valley locations. They're always doing great stuff for the community, including supporting ASU athletics and their athletes, and of course for hooking us up with their delicious food. So we thank them so much. On August 19th, their Tempe location will host a meet and greet from 10:30 a.m. till noon, featuring our very own Jalen Conyers, Elijah Badger, and the Borghese, including, is Gerald going to be there too? Gerald, are you one of the Borghese that's going to be there? He did not get the invite, but maybe we'll send Gerald over there too. But there's free stickers for the first 25 people to come through. So make sure to join this big event that they're having. Grab a burrito and follow Burrito Express on Twitter at BurritoEXP. And also check out our friends at Pins and Aces. They make the best gear for anybody. I want to say golf apparel, but no, just everybody should be wearing the gear from Pins and Aces, because they make some amazing polos that are stretchy, they're lightweight, they're very comfortable for the hot heat here in Arizona. And of course, whether you are out on the golf course or just hanging around trying to look fashionable, make sure to check them out. We love our Pins and Aces gear, including our Phoenix polo, which we get a ton of compliments on. And of course, they have hats, golf bags, and so much more. So check out pinsandaces.com and use code PHNX to receive 15% off your first order, and you will get free shipping. That's PHNX to receive 15% off your first order and get free shipping at pinsandaces.com. Well, we thank you guys so much for joining us again today. We know things are going in the right direction because we are back and we are once again a wagon. You can follow us on Twitter to confirm that, because we will tell you that as much as we possibly can. I'm at Cap_caveman with a K. This maniac next to me is at Shawn_DePaz. Jesse Friedman is at Jesse N. Friedman. The maniac behind the Mac is Damon, and he is at Damon Dog, DAWG. Of course, we are all Damon's dogs.
Also, am I understanding this right? Mo didn't know your name? Yeah, you recognize Mo.
Yeah.
Put some respect on Damon's name.
You're here too often, Mo, to not know everybody's name. So let's get it right.
From Boise, Idaho, coming up, knowing you have to bark at Damon because he's Damon.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Put some respect on Damon's name.
That's right. We are Damon's dogs. That's what we're going to change the name of the show to. But
the bark can get a lot more intense.
Yeah, and angry.
And there is a bite that goes with it.
Maybe.
Fuck around and find out, Mo.
That's right. Our show is at PHNX D-backs, but of course, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you again for showing up. We appreciate your time. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you have a proper closer.